Yeah, I mean, the fight was always going to go two ways, in my opinion. It was going to be Khamzat in the first two and Whitaker right after that. Uh, I feel super bad for Whitaker. Obviously, the injury happened, but, obviously, kudos to Khamzat. It wasn't just a freak accident. It was inflicted injury, which Robert afterwards, he did say that, the tooth were broken and before he had weak teeth, like he had a problem with his teeth. And then when myself and Rob fought, that the teeth broke back for the first time and then it never really recovered.
Wow.
Obviously they put them back in place, but hoping they would, grow back perfectly, but it didn't happen. So it wasn't. I have to take credit for that, even though it's not a good thing, and I feel super bad for Rob. The man looked so ready the whole fight week. Going into the fight, even as fight week built. I was in two minds the whole time because I knew that Hamzat would have the strength advantage, and I knew that Whitaker had the gas tank and probably the more technical all around game. But that's the fight game, and big ups to Hamza for making that happen.
Dricus, I think the presumption before the fight was that you and Sean would rematch. Obviously, that was a fun fight, a very competitive fight, and I know one that he has said, "Hey, give me this rematch. I deserve it." Did Hamzat do enough in your mind? You're the champion. Did he do enough to jump Sean? And does he deserve the next title shot against you?
Yeah, listen, I completely welcome the Strickland rematch. I would have loved that to get that finish because for Sean he needs a win back. I need a finish. For him, he doesn't mind to fight boring fights like most of his fights. That's why he has what 7 or 8 split decision wins. For me, I go out there and I want to fight a guy that comes out there to throw down, not say that he's going to and then jab for 5 rounds. You know, and but once again, in our fight, myself and Sean, it was a close fight, but there was no doubt in my mind that I won that fight. But I said if Whitaker comes out there and does something amazing, like get an early finish or just outfight Hamzat, he's definitely going to jump the gun because he deserves it. That's 3 wins in a row against top guys. And Strickland just beat Paulo Costa in a very boring fight once again after our fight. Whether it was close or not, it's still a loss. And then, of course, I also thought, Hamzat, they've hyped up this guy for so long, but he's not come to fruition. He hasn't lost, but with the fight cancellations, him being sick, and sometimes that's out of our control. But he went in there, was the first guy to ever submit Rob, and he did in the first round, and that warrants a jump the gun on Sean Strickland for me. And if you ask me personally, that's a fight I would rather want because it's a fight that the people want. It's a fight that more fans want. And I believe Hamzat is the next best guy.
That's, I think, awesome for fans when they hear that, Dricus, because they're going to be very happy with that. I think, a lot of people have said, hey, perhaps that's a tougher fight for you. How do you think stylistically you and Hamzat match up with one another?
I think it's two completely different fights. I think, it's going to be in a stylistic form. You see Hamzat, he backs people up. I don't back up. And Hamzat being strong. And that's what I said with Whitaker after fighting him. His power wasn't something that I noticed when we fought. But when Hamzat fights, you can see he is strong against his opponents. But then you look at a guy like Gilbert Burns, you look at a guy like Kamaru Usman in a lighter weight division that went out there and they fought him. They didn't defend his wrestling. They wrestled him back. They fought him. And that's, when I fight, I don't know how to, back up. I'm going to go out there and fight you. And we've seen this with Hamzat, slowing down after the first round and a half. And I think that is because he uses so much power. He has the wrestling technique, of course, but he uses his strength as a weapon. And in this case, he has a gun and I have a tank when it comes to the strength. There's not a middleweight that's going to overpower me. It's not going to happen. So, and then we've seen myself going out there, doing that as hard as I can for 4 rounds, finishing easy, and then, of course, for 5 rounds with Strickland. With Hamzat, we haven't seen that. And we've seen him fading in fights. So stylistically, I think, especially the opening rounds, the first 2 rounds, it's going to be fireworks. I think it's going to be two absolute warriors in there, two bulls, and seeing who backs down first. But once it goes past round two, if it goes past round two, it's going to be smooth sailing.
As a guy who I know you love fighting, Dricus, and who doesn't want to be a part of the biggest events? I get the feeling this would be a big event and the fans would be so jazzed up for this thing. Is that the sense that you get? Like, this is what the fans want and this is going to be a big event and you're going to be at the center of it?
Yeah, absolutely. But I think it's a very good point making and saying, okay, cool, International Fight Week, that's a massive event. But then you also go and say, you look at a card and you look at the fights, and that's what makes an event big. Yeah. So, with myself and Khamzat, that's going to be a big event. No matter where it is, when it is, it's going to be a big one.
Have they indicated, the UFC, Dricus, that is what they're thinking too? Clearly, you believe Khamzat deserves it. They've got to be involved as well. The UFC, is that what they believe too?
Well, yeah, I have to tell you this. I've been wanting to get that answer too. I think there's so much. There's so many things going on right now. So many, just from a standpoint of making things happen. I know Khamzat has some travel restrictions, but I don't know too much on that. Where do you do this? Where does it make the most sense? When do you do it? Because I don't want to sit out for too long. But yeah, I at this stage I don't have anything concrete that I can give you. Yeah. But whatever it is, I hope it comes up next.
You said you don't want to sit out too long. It was when was it? It was I had it written down here. It was a couple of months ago. Obviously, we last saw you in there with Israel. If you could pick the date of the fight, I mean, is it February? Is it June? I mean,
February,
when are you thinking?
February, March would be perfect. I fought in January this year, so I'll be really happy if that doesn't happen again. I'm a Christian, so I enjoy spending Christmas with my family.
Yeah.
So I'll be ready for February. I'll be ready for March.
Let me get you out of here on these 2-1s, Dricus. If Sean, I'm sure he's going to see this. He is not going to have heard the answer that he wants to hear from you. What's your message to Sean Strickland?
Yeah, man. Finish your fights.
That's good, like short and sweet. And finally, to the guy that you likely end up fighting here, and what's, like we said, it's going to be a massive, massive fight. What do you say to Khamzat Chimaev today?
Now, whether it be Strickland or Khamzat Chimaev, it's Strickland. I have felt everything you can give. And I promise you, this time, the judges won't need to be there. If it Khamzat, you think you're strong, you think you're powerful, you have not felt anything. And I can't wait till I see it on his face, because I see it on every single person I fight's face. When they realize, oh, shit, that's the message.